Hello, 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 and welcome to Courageously Kind. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Liz. We're twin sisters and best friends.
Together, we share stories of especially kind humans doing especially kind things, in hopes that these conversations motivate and inspire you to be kinder to yourself and others. When we're not speaking with an incredible guest, we'll speak directly from our hearts about what it means to us to be courageously kind. This week, we had the absolute honor of chatting with one of our dear friends, Christine Martinez.
Christine has a beautiful faith story, and her story is just so remarkable, and we can't wait to share it with you.
We were chatting with Christine a little while ago, and we just knew that we wanted her to come share her faith story, and I think she has just such a wonderful way of explaining things and telling stories. It was honestly such a joy to talk with her. So without further ado, here's Christine. So, Christine, could you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Christine Martinez. I'm a very proud mom to lots of poodles. They're my outdoor adventure companions, and they're my kids with paws and tails. We do all kinds of wonderful outdoor adventures together. We love to hike, and we love to explore, and we love to swim. I also have been a really avid student and teacher of history for over 40 years now. I especially really love historical clothing and costuming from like England and the Americas and the Netherlands, from like the early contacts and colonization period. So like 1600s approximately. And I have an amazing husband, and we love to travel together. In kind of a segue, it's one of the teachings of Islam, which is the faith tradition I follow. If you really want to know a person, take a journey with them.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just jump right in with our questions.
So let's dive right in. First, tell us a little bit about your faith, traditions, teachings, like basically your faith 101.
So I'm a convert to Islam. I converted about 15 years ago or so officially, but I had been kind of unofficially practicing for a few years before that. The most basic form of Islam is someone who says La ilaha illallah, there is no God but one God, and follow that up with Muhammad wa Rasulullah. So and Muhammad is one of the messengers of God. So that's the most basic. Anyone who says that is a Muslim, is considered a Muslim. That's all it takes to convert too. You say that in the presence of another Muslim, and hooray. So because that's the most basic form of it, Islam takes on so many forms. So, I know I mentioned this to you in a message. I kind of feel funny coming here and talking about Islam 101 because it's so vast.
Yeah.
There are over 1 billion Muslims in the world, and wherever you go, Islam takes on, very much like Christianity does, or Judaism does. It takes on local flavor, local context.
Yeah.
It blends really well with existing traditions, which I think is really beautiful. So, we've practiced the basics of regular prayer. To build onto that, there's concept of God consciousness. So, whatever your actions are, try to make God your focus in your life. So before I signed in here, I very quickly said to myself, Bismillah, in the name of God. God, please help me say the right thing.
Yeah, work through me. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's good to help us keep our focus and keep our intentions good. In Islam, your actions are judged in part on your intentions. Are you trying to do the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying? And if you mess up in that, do you intend to do better the next time?
Yeah.
So just having the right intention is just part of it. Islam puts a very strong emphasis on social justice, and it has from day one. Very strong emphasis on social justice, on equality of peoples. One of our core tenets is, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter, what your gender and this might be controversial, or your gender expression is. You are equal in the eyes and the heart of God. If you have great wealth, great resources, but your neighbor is struggling or suffering, it's on you to make sure that your neighbor's okay.
Yeah.
Anybody who's watched, the original version of Aladdin from the 90s might remember a line that I think has been cut out.
Oh.
But a line in one of the songs in the marketplace where they make some reference to like if you steal, we'll chop off your hands. So there is there is a ruling in Islam about people who steal, should have their hand cut off. But what's ignored there is there's this whole okay, why was this person stealing? If they were reduced to stealing because they were hungry and the community wasn't providing for them, that's the community's fault.
Yeah.
So why was this person who is a part of your community, why was this person left to resort to theft in order to feed themselves and their family? So that's on you. If you are stealing out of greed, that's another story.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense.
We absolutely, monotheism is core to Islam. We believe one God, and that doesn't mean one God above all else. For us, God is one. God is oneness.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we can have an anthropomorphized idea of God. There are references in the Quran to God's face or God's hands or whatever, but we're meant to understand that those are allegorical. God is beyond our concepts of, even of gender. God is beyond our concepts of gender. God is beyond our concepts of anthropomorphic form. And any attempts to do that just helps our tiny human brains make sense of it.
Yeah. What's crazy is this is only our second episode, but I am hearing so many overlaps between the conversation we had last week with Father Lizzie and this conversation too. And one of our motives, I guess, for doing this was to just find our commonalities and realize that we're not so different after all. You know what I mean? We all sort of believe in the same things, and it's just coming through so many times. Those commonalities.
And and this is. Whenever I'm asked to talk about, misconceptions of Islam, people usually want to talk about the headscarf or terrorism. And, and I could talk about those forever, but I feel like they've just been talked about. And the thing that I always want most people to understand is that we really the differences are surface. When we say Allah, we're not Allah is the Arabic word for God. Yeah. And that's it. It's just the Arabic word for God. And we follow the same faith traditions and the same messengers as Jews and Christians do. Yeah. So you put on and you will find stories of Jesus and Moses, and Joseph and Mary. There's an entire chapter in the Quran all about Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Wow. I didn't know that.
A rock star role model, and we love her.
I love that. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, and that's I think that's what I want most people to know. Really, our differences are surface. The other thing, who is a Muslim? What does a Muslim, look like or act like? I think here in the States, most people think of Muslim and American as two separate things. Yeah, and we're not. Muslims come from every country, from every ethnic background, of every age. Just like in Christianity, there are countless ways to follow and interpret. You'll find the same in Islam. But at the end of the day, Muslims, we try really hard to be good neighbors, and and we'll love to have you over for a smorgasbord, potluck or whatever. Come on over. We're just trying to live our best lives and do what's right for our families and our communities, and and try to remember and honor God in the process.
So. I love that. That's awesome. If we all just lived by those principles, I feel like the world would be such a better place.
And when I talk about surface differences, I don't want to try to minimize them, because I think it's important that we do see each other's differences. Absolutely. And honor them and respect them and try to learn, to say your belief on this or your practice on this is different from mine. Why do you approach it that way? Oh, that's interesting. I never considered that perspective, or I never considered that. It's important to honor those differences.
Yeah, I love what you said, that, we can learn from other people's differences. Yeah. We don't have to always see everything the same way, but even if we just get a new perspective or just, new information about something, it can help us grow in our own journeys.
Oh, yeah. And you don't have to agree with the way other people do things either. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine to say, like, that's interesting. It's fine to disagree, but, find a way to do it respectfully.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. So our next question is, what does your faith mean to you?
For me, Islam, the best way I can describe it, for me, it's like a guidebook on how to be a good and decent human being in this world.
Yeah.
I grew up in really chaotic circumstances, and I didn't always have steady, solid guiding principles in my life. And so faith was one of the things that provided that for me. So I grew up Catholic, and I still love and respect the Catholic Church. For me, it's like my hometown. I love it. I'm grateful that I grew up there. But I really struggled with the Trinity. I still do. I still try. Like, I still really try to dig in and understand it. It's the thing I still struggle with. And, Islam, like, because it's the same faith traditions and it's the same one God, kind of taking out the concept of the Trinity. So, like, we still love Jesus. We love him. He is in the Quran. We have to follow his example. But in Islam, the difference is we respect him as a messenger of God rather than being divine himself. And, so for me, both the Catholic Church when I was a child and Islam now as an adult, it helps give me that guide on how to be a good person and how to connect to the world around me and how to connect to the divine in a way that is balanced. Islam is called the middle path, because it really cautions against extremism, but also being too lax in anything. So, like you want to follow a middle path, and, having that idea of God consciousness helps me approach, even when I'm dealing with a difficult situation. Say I'm dealing with a really challenging customer at work. If I can just, like, take a deep breath and do my best to say, like, okay, this person is upset about something. They're not upset about me. I'm just the sounding for it. Yeah. Help me recognize the child of God that they are. And help me find the best way to handle the situation lovingly and with patience and with the compassion and charity that this person deserves as a child of God.
Oh, I love that.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that.
I love that.
And, and even when I'm out hiking in the woods or whatever, a couple of days ago, we were hiking along a lake and there was some land that was still really mucky. And I ended up, like, calf deep in muck.
Oh no.
And, I could have been really, really annoyed at it. And I could have, started swearing and everything. But instead I laughed and I said, Alhamdulillah. Like, Alhamdulillah, all praises be to God, because I was able to recognize, like, okay, like this part of the earth is still bouncing back from the winter, and that part of the earth is going to have really good soil content, and I know that that's where blueberries grow. So I know that, like, later in the summer, that ground is going to produce really nice blueberries. So I could step back, and instead of being upset, I could say, Alhamdulillah, all praise be to God.
I love that. That is just, it's like so insightful, and then finding joy in a moment that, like, wasn't necessarily joyful, but just, gosh, I love that. I love that. We should all do that more. Like, find those moments of joy in our day.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
I don't have that mindset all the time, but I try. I try.
So tell us a little bit about, like, your conversion story. You converted to Islam. You grew up Catholic. I feel like your story is really, really interesting. So tell us just a little bit about how you found a religion that really worked for you.
like I said, I really struggled with the concept of the Trinity. So I really explored a lot of faith traditions. Like some of my mom's friends, follow like more earth-based magic, and I really explored those and found a lot of beauty in it. I have Quaker ancestors and, really connected with a lot of their teachings, but, ultimately I knew that I couldn't commit to, to some of like the basic core tenets of it. And, I was just kind of adrift for a while, but in the early 2000s, I heard a radio program with where they were reading the poetry of 13th century Sufi Islam poets. So like Rumi is the most famous. And there was something about that message of like Rumi was like a hardcore scholar. Like people know him today as just being like this incredibly ecstatic mystic poet, but he was a hardcore scholar. Like he knew his stuff. Yeah. And that's really valuable to me. Like I love spirituality. I love connecting to, all kinds of, but man, you better bring your documents. Like I very much feel in like that. But there was something about the blend of just sheer joy in seemingly mundane things combined with like good solid like scholarship that just really like boom, like just it got me. So like I started like reading up as much as I could about the Sufis, and I remember thinking like, wow, I should be a Sufi. Like this is it. I found my home. I should be a Sufi. But then I was like, but I don't want to be Muslim. So I went and talked to I was in grad school at the time, so I went and talked to the local Muslim Students Association in grad school, and they were like the most amazing, kind and generous and loving people. Like just it was around the time of Hurricane Katrina, I think, and I was doing some interfaith work with charities connected with interfaith communities down in Louisiana, and like the students at the Muslim Students Association like didn't even like delve into like super details. They're like, oh, you're doing this charity work, and they like, here, take this $20 bill, here, what do you need, here, do you need help mailing things? And I was so blown away. Yeah. And like the more I got to know them, the more I got to know like, oh, that's like Islam 101. It's like you help people in need. Like charity is key. Like charity is key. Social justice is key. Like does your neighbor need something? Then you help your neighbor out. Whether your neighbor literally the person next door to you, or like or your friends down in Louisiana who like were battered by a hurricane. Yeah. The more I studied, the more I learned, the more I felt at home. Like I just felt like, this makes sense to me. This is where I belong. The imam, our faith leaders are called imams. So they're like, like reverends or priests or rabbis. He was like me, like hardcore, like super nerdy scholar, brought the facts, like had been to like pretty much the equivalent of the Harvard of Egypt and the Middle East. And so he was like super nerdy. And so like we could like sit and like talk like picky details forever. And he was also someone who could like look at the first dandelion weeds coming up and go, Alhamdulillah, like look at this beauty. We're like, I love that. Like most people see dandelions and be like, oh, we, like he could look at them, Alhamdulillah. So it was just, it was home. Like it was home. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
I love hearing people's conversion stories. Both of our parents converted. Yeah. And I think it's just so special when you don't pick a religion, but the religion kind of finds you, Yeah. I just love hearing those stories. They're so special.
Yeah.
Liz, I love that. I never thought of it that way, but Liz, I love that.
I just love hearing it. I think it's so special.
So I guess to sort of sum things up, what would you like to leave our listeners with today?
This kind of goes along with a major theme of your podcast and your own social justice work. And that is, Muslims aren't that different. If you have questions, ask us. Like, yeah, it's okay. Like, you can ask us. Like if you have Muslim neighbors or Muslim community members, like they're your neighbors and community members, and it's okay to ask questions, and don't be afraid to invite them over for tea or a potluck or something like that. Just get to know us. I think so many of the vast misconceptions that we have stems from the basic fallacy that there's Americans and then there's Muslims, and we fail to realize that there are people like me who are American Muslims, and I am not an anomaly. There's so many of us. We're your friends, we're your coworkers, we're your neighbors. Invite us out for ice cream sometime. I know maybe it's open. You don't want to have people over at your house, but the ice cream parlors are open. Invite us sometime. We love ice cream.
I love it. I love it so much.
Get to know us.
I love that. Christine, thank you so much for chatting with us today. We're so grateful for you and for
this is so mutual. I really blushed hard when you guys were like, oh, come do the podcast. I was like, oh no.
No, we love it. We love you so much.
And then I was like, I actually have to learn how to use Zoom now.
You did a fabulous job.
Great.
You did it. And now you can say that you've done it. Well, again, thank you so much.
You both, and as always, thank you for the incredible work that you do, and thank you for your loving hearts. In Islam, there's a saying that the simplest form of charity is a smile. Charity isn't just financial. Charity is also in are you using of your time and your resources and your gifts in a way that is loving for people? So thank you for living that principle. Thank you both for living those principles.
Oh my God. Thank you for such sweet words. I can't thank you enough. This has been so wonderful, and we'll let you get back to enjoying your Sunday, but thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today. This was so fun.
Right. I love you, ladies. And
we love you too.
So, Salaam Alaikum. May peace be with you. May peace day.
Right back at you, girlfriend. We love you.
Bye.
This week we had the absolute honor of chatting with one of our dear friends, Christine Martinez.
Christine has a beautiful faith story, and her story is just so remarkable, and we can't wait to share it with you.
We were chatting with Christine a little while ago, and we just knew that we wanted her to come share her faith story, and I think she has just such a wonderful way of explaining things and telling stories. It was honestly such a joy to talk with her. So without further ado, here's Christine.
We'd like to give a huge thank you to Anawalt's Landscape Contracting for their support of Courageously Kind.
Anawalt's is a family-owned landscape contracting company in Berks County that has served Pennsylvania for over 35 years.
If you're ready to get your landscaping project started, visit anawaltlandscape.com or call 610-916-7070.
Anawalt's Landscape Contracting, beautifying Pennsylvania 1 yard at a time.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, feel free to share it with your friends, your family, or anyone you think might like it too.
And if you want to support the show, leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really does help. Or check out our merch store at courageouslykind.org. Take good care, and we'll see you back here real soon.